Hi everyone, we are back on air with the third installment of the Artist Talks for the Social Photography Gallery. We've got Kevin and Patricia here. Um, I guess, Patricia, since we last talked, how has the gallery kept on evolving for you, and how's it been affecting the way that you think about photography? And do you think that your posts and the conversations and posts of others here have impacted your own personal audience?
Wow, that's a lot of questions. Where I'll go with it first is just how it's affecting my own head in relation to making me think about something I'd really not been thinking about, and that is in my own mind the difference between what I consider my real photography and my Instagram photography. And you know, a dog has joined us.
Uh, yes, I think my dog just saw someone run across the front yard. That's the
We'll have to ask the dog. Maybe it could talk about Hannah's cat.
Yeah.
yeah, the that's the fun things about doing live broadcasts.
Works fine with me. Yeah, I really had not. I started Instagram because I'd been working on a book project for a year, in which case that had taken all of my time and attention. And I had not been photographing, and I started thinking, this is great. I'm having a photography book published, and I'm not really a photographer because I don't shoot. But a 13-year-old introduced me to Instagram last August and taught me how to use the camera on my iPhone, and I was hooked ever since. What I found with Instagram is, and again, it's been the discernment as we've been discussing these questions that have been coming up on our feed, on our post. What it's become for me is it's just a place to play. I mean, it's getting me out there again the way I used to be when I first got serious about photography, where I was just taking pictures of everything. And also, I had kept a blog, a daily blog, before there was even the word blog, from the year 2000 to 2006, with words and images. And it's reminded me of that. And I kind of use it like that. I use it in a way of just following my life. And I'm not real persnickety about the quality of the images. I mean, I want them to be half decent, but I don't make a big to-do about it. So it's a very free place for me to be, and I'm liking that. I do still take my real camera out to work on what I consider projects, and I love doing that. I won't give that up. I mean, really, that's a whole different thing for me. But the little iPhone things, again, I like to take a lot of pictures of strangers on the street and talk to people on the street in Detroit. And, an iPhone is so unintimidating. I mean, it's like it's no big deal. So I can take pictures any place, and nobody's real spooked by it. So I'm finding the discussions are really helping me discern as to the difference between what I consider my serious photography and my Instagram photography.
Very nice. Kevin, how have you kind of evolved, or have you, through the project, and what have you seen come up through the conversations with your audiences and the social photography audience as a whole?
Yeah, it's been really amazing so far. I started taking pictures with Instagram. I've talked about that a little bit before, and then evolved to a DSLR, and then I think the next step maybe someday will be to attempt to go to black and white film or something like that. But so I kind of have almost from the opposite end of the spectrum, coming from just playing around with my iPhone to going, oh my goodness, I was hooked. I actually, because I'm a multimedia artist anyway, but I promised myself years ago I would never pick up a camera. I knew if I would, it'd just be another expensive hobby that I would get obsessed about. I was just going to leave that to people who knew what they were doing and really enjoy looking at other people's photos. I said that for years. and I got a dog too barking. We're just setting them off. But then I got an iPhone, and it was cheap and just immediately accessible. I was doing more music at the time, but it was a lot of the music I do required me to be sitting in front of my computer for hours and hours and hours. Most of it was post-production, and I've had to be careful with my photography as well, because you can do that in Photoshop and Lightroom too. But with an iPhone, like Patricia was saying, it's a little less. There's a little bit of a separation there between. Yeah. Well, it is a little more instant. So anyway, I got into photography that way. But at the time that I did, I was very much living alone in a really remote location. Taking a break from some music and needed to be outside, meeting people, and away from my computer. I was kind of tired of that lifestyle. I was going through a bit of some personal healing at the time, and so picking up a camera, and at first it was my iPhone, and just moving around in the world, I found it to be, at least initially, taking that first shot as a much more physical process. You're on your 2 feet, or you're at least in a different location every time you're making a shot, rather than sitting in front of the same scene in my home recording studio. And so that was very, very liberating to me. And then as I started, I was taking. I think I took 10,000 pictures with my iPhone within the first year or two, and then I moved to DSLR. And I also agree with Patricia that there was something that I had not anticipated, that I had to expect as a person who's struggled with some social anxiety in the past. That was part of some of the healing I was going through. It does take some bravery to be a photographer, and when you're sticking a bigger camera in people's faces, it can be a challenge, both for yourself and for the people on the other side. I forget who said, maybe it was Leibowitz or something, but there was a quote that said something like, taking a snapshot of a person is like taking a piece of their soul. Mm-hmm. And if you've traveled in third world countries and things like that, people do have beliefs. It's a very sacred thing to capture a piece of a person and preserve it for all time. And so that the person on the other side of the lens either has to be in some form of agreement with that. In today's society, I think the kids growing up now, are pretty used to that. But it can be a very sacred, a very spiritual thing. And so now that I'm kind of back to the iPhone, I think through this project I've taken my first couple pictures just with my iPhone camera, because I'm always a little overly worried about the quality, trying to make everything perfect with my DSLR. So that's something I've tried to do. I took my first selfie in like a year the other day because of this project. Also because of some of the conversations with Patricia about being honest and true to yourself as a photographer and having that inform the pictures. And of course the dialogues that have been going on throughout the whole thing, and everyone's photos have been a great support to me. As a person who's a new photographer and doesn't have a lot of photographer friends, it's just simply been a very good social arena for me as well, and made some friends through this, and I've had some audience be really supportive and come forth and actually send direct messages and things like that and say, hey, do you want to go out and shoot sometime? So just on a practical level, from a person who went from living in the woods, getting sick of music, picking up a camera, to now I don't. I'm back in civilization, you could say, and kind of back to doing music as well. Suddenly I found I have a community of photographers that I get to be a part and learn from and things like that. So it's been really amazing. It's also, and I'm getting kind of long here, but it's been really cool to see everyone's different philosophies on why they shoot, where they come from. Everyone is, I was really surprised. Not very uniform. Everyone really comes from a different place, and it's so cool, especially the people in different parts of the country and the world. It's been inspiring and really humbling. I thought after a couple years I was wrapping my head around why I take pictures, but I think I've just realized, how little I know, and I say this a lot, but I do like that feeling. I do like that feeling of discovery and of learning and approaching things as a beginner. That's what really liberated me in the first place when I picked up a camera, was that feeling that I didn't have to be an expert at it. And even when you do become um, good at it, there's that element with taking a photo. There's still that element where you don't ever know exactly what you're going to get. And that's also, I think, more of a collective thing, a universal thing, something that we can share with each other, Yeah, I think I'll leave it at that for now, Aaron.
Okay, perfect. Patricia, are there any of the shooting and blog topics that we've been posting to the blog on the website at socialphotography.photos, or that you guys have been posting on our Instagram account at Silk Photo Gallery on Instagram? Are there any of those topics that have stuck out to you as being a gravitational type of thing for not only your own work but your audience as well in the conversation that's been going on?
Yes, there have been several actually, but the one that comes to mind actually was just posted, I believe, yesterday by Millie, and that is about selfies. And I've thought a lot about selfies because my book is self-portraits, all taken with my DSLR, but. So I give talks at universities and things relating to disability, which is what the book is, the day-to-day life of a person with disability, being myself. And so I've been in classroom situations with young people a lot, talking about self-portraits and actually specifically talking about the difference between selfies and self-portraits, because I think the two can be confused very easily. And for myself, I've had to discern, because I do a few, not a lot, but I do some selfies on my Instagram that I consider selfies, not self-portraits. And I was saying in response to Millie's discussion yesterday that to me the difference between a selfie and a self-portrait has a lot to do with intention. What is my intention in taking that picture? And also, who's the audience I'm taking it for? When I was doing my self-portraits and when I am doing my self-portraits, I'm very much thinking about, how would I say this? I don't want to make it sound too grandiose or something, but I'm very much thinking about it's being more than just a personal thing, that it hopefully goes past that into the universal, that whatever self-portrait I would show, whatever aspect of my life I would show, would be something that other people could relate to in their own lives, that it wouldn't just be my story, it would be their story that would get, their thoughts would be triggered by whatever it is I'm showing. So there's a broader purpose to it, a deeper, more serious purpose to these self-portraits. And the audience is, well, I see it as both non-disabled and disabled persons when I'm working on this particular project. For the disabled persons, I think many times persons with disabilities have felt either invisible or portrayed in a strange way. We'll just put it that way. When non-disabled photographers photograph or write features on or whatever persons with disabilities, it's very hard to get inside if you've not had that personal experience yourself. And I found I was getting very frustrated for years by seeing, I wasn't always disabled either, so I have both experiences. But I would see that it seemed to me that non-disabled photographers would get into two attitudinal places. One was that the person with the disability is so heroic, that they're so inspiring, that You know, they're just so brave. And the other would be that they're pathetic, that their life it's a lost life. Especially for persons who were non-disabled and then became disabled. So I've been attempting to show from the inside and speak to persons with disabilities to say, look, our lives are as normal as anyone else's. They're different. That's all. Just, but not doesn't make them abnormal. And then the non-disabled folks, it's just a little bit of consciousness raising about what it's like to live in a disabled body in our culture. It's more of a cultural thing too. But with the selfies, I'm not even thinking about that. I mean, I don't even know that I usually show myself in my scooter or even make too much comment about being disabled in Instagram. I don't think I make too much of a deal about it. I think people may be aware of it because of some of the photos, but it isn't as intentional. It's more just grab shots. You know, like yesterday I got a second ear piercing on my ear. Okay, so I showed a picture of the, you know, it's like, oh wow, who cares? But you know, it was part of the day, right? And so there it is, my selfie of my 2 holes in my ears. It doesn't have any great meaning. We'll just put it that way. So that particular discussion has meant a lot to me.
Very nice. Yeah, I kind of like to, with the ear pierce, I typically use my Instagram too as kind of like a daily, almost visual journal. So, like that. Kevin, have there been any topics that have particularly struck home with you and the audiences that you've been conversing with?
That's a tough one because I've enjoyed reading them all, but one in particular that has just been close to my heart was actually, I had a part in trying to answer this as well, but I think David, or Dazed and Confused is his username. Yeah, one of the first ones he posted about what it means to be a photographer nowadays, and how we kind of got into a dialogue about how technology is changing. And, you know, that's just been, like I said, an issue that's been close to my heart, because I have worked in publishing and then I have worked in the recording industry, and I kind of stated in my post that, you know, I've seen them both kind of crumble in a way and transform into something completely new. And there's a sort of a, I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, but there's a dichotomy out there, 2 groups of people who I find who have attitudes toward social media, but also some people hate iPhone photos. Some people just, as a general rule, and I understand that in a way, because I think the photographers who started with analog and have been brought up in the old school tradition have really invested themselves in a craft that is beautiful and not easy, and so that's kind of a theme that's been means a lot to me, because I feel the same way as a musician. I started, there's a parallel there. I started before, you know, everyone had a recording studio in their bedroom, and I started in a real studio, and I started with real instruments and things like that. So I can, when I started taking, you guys don't know this, I have a secret. I had another Instagram account when I first started taking pictures, and so I kind of have, you know, as I've matured, I kind of hid that one away. I don't think it exists anymore. But when I was first having fun taking my pictures, you know, I was feeling out, you know, do I have a knack for this? Do I have a knack for composition, or am I kind of like, you know, like everyone else? You put these sort of Instagram-y filters on everything, and they instantly look kind of interesting. And, but I got a lot of opinions, like, oh, I hate that Instagram stuff. I hate, you know, from a lot of traditional photographers, and I've been thinking about that a lot, you know, across a lot of different mediums, and I think that every generation has a every generation kind of has that feeling when the new comes around. You know, I'm always talking about music. I should talk about photos more. But when Stravinsky, you know, premiered the Firebird Suite, people rioted because he was doing things like augmented force and you know, like really dissonant chords and things that nobody had heard before. And of course, now it's considered a classic. And I think if you study history, there's always been a generational problem with the new. Everyone's always wanting to go. You know, I played in a lot of bands in Portland, and it was very in vogue to be playing things from the 1960s rather than, you know, doing stuff that is new. And I think that really applies to a lot of things. And so while I see that now that I can shoot with a DSLR, I see that I can achieve things, of course, that you can never do with an iPhone. But I just I'm wary of holding any type of attitude, and this probably applies to social networking and social media in general. I think there's always going to be problems when the new comes folding in to the universe, but there's always going to be advantages, and I think it's really about what the human spirit can do with these new technologies. I mean, Instagram started out as a non-money-making, well, I'm sure they intended to eventually make money, and they sold to Facebook, but it was really the community that made it what it was, not so much you know, they developed a decent camera program with 12 filters, and it was the people that made it what it is today. And so, yeah, that was the dialogue between Dazed and Confused and I and a couple other people we were having that really, I'm still thinking about, stuck out to me. I don't want to say that, yeah, because I don't do Facebook. I have a Twitter account, but I can hardly get myself to post. So Instagram is about the only social media form that I use, but I love it. And if it weren't for that, I probably wouldn't be taking photographs at all. So I embrace the new, and I'm always open to hearing about what other people have to say about that.
Very nice. Looks like we might have lost Patricia there.
Oh.
We'll see if she comes back in a minute. But as we roll into this last week of the social photography gallery, you've seen some of the topics that I've given out to you guys before, post for the audiences. Oh, Patricia's back.
Sorry, I got kicked off. Sorry.
No worries.
That dog again.
Yeah, I was just asking Kevin. You guys have seen the preview for some of the topics for towards the end of the week here and the last week of the social photography gallery as we've been posting online. What are your goals? Where do you want to see this gallery, your work, the conversation? Where do you want to see all of this go in this last week leading up to our final artist talk on the 26th?
Boy.
You're going to have to remind me of some of the topics because I haven't looked at the list in a while.
Okay. Well, I guess whoever's tuning in and watching will get a little preview of this. Oh, we have someone else pop in here. Hey. How are you, sir? Can you hear us?
Hi there.
I can't. Can anyone else hear by now?
I can't hear.
Okay. We can't hear you, so might want to.
I see him now, though. Hi.
Yeah, we see you.
While he's figuring out the audio, the last topics that we've got going on here are social rallying points, what makes us trend, and do these things matter, the pop culture influences in our social media. We also have, on the 22nd, we'll be talking about can we live without social media? Do we miss anything without it, or are we already missing too much of the world around us through our virtual commitments and involvements?
Can you guys hear me? I'm sorry.
Oh, we
Hey,
can hear you now.
hi.
Hi.
I can hear
Hey.
you. Oh,
Good to meet you guys. Sorry
Great
for being
to meet
late. My
you.
FiOS was acting up.
No
no,
worries.
glad
Yeah,
you're here.
I was just asking Patricia and Kevin kind of. We've been talking a little bit about some of the topics and how they were responding personally, as well as the audience, their own personal audiences, and the overall social photography audience through the conversations we've been having. For your own self, are there any I guess, topics, photographs, anything that stuck out to you as we've been going on this month that have been a pillar of gravitation for conversation for you and inner thought for what we've been doing?
Well, what I participated in, I was definitely glad that I was able to get the answers that I did from Patricia and David and Kate, because it brought another sensibility in terms of photography, the craft. Because as a video guy, it wasn't something that I was into before. You know, I used to edit video for a living. So when I got into shooting, it was mostly because of Instagram. Like I don't have a designated style per se, but I'm trying to get there. So I'm exploring all my options right now, and it was very interesting to listen to what they had to say from their perspectives. Because I know Kate's a wedding photographer. Patricia does more long-term stuff, projects about her community in Detroit, and it was just I don't know, just different sensibilities into the craft. Um, but I don't know. I'm kind of nervous. I've never done this.
It's just us. Don't even think about a camera. It's just us.
Very nice. Yeah, I was, like I was saying, I was kind of asking the other two where they would like to go with this last week. If any of the topics that we have coming out really stick out for the last week, and what goals they'd like to accomplish with the gallery during our last week and the conversations that we'll be having. Do you each one of you want to fire off on that topic, starting with Kevin and working our way down?
Sure. Yeah, coming sort of the last week here, something I haven't really mentioned, and I kind of freaked out about for a little while was, as this project's been ongoing, my camera lens broke,
Oh,
and I don't have the funds to buy a new one. So it's ironic that as this project's been going on, I've been a lot slower with my photographs. But as I said before, after listening to some of the conversations and getting more of a sense of just acceptance, kind of like, is it VNL? Am I pronouncing your name right?
Yeah, that's exactly how you say it.
Okay. You mentioned everybody's kind of got a different sensibility, and so for myself personally, coming to the end of this, I've been exploring more of a sense of freedom. I mentioned I took my first selfie in a long time, and I've been taking a couple actual iPhone photos out of necessity, but also it's been liberating as well. So I also, I'm so new at photography, I haven't developed a style, and I just won't pretend to have a voice quite yet. But I think with the support and the inspiration of actually getting to know some photographers rather than just looking at their work from afar on Instagram, it's just going to be another step on that path for me towards synthesizing what I know and what I want to do. There's a twofold thing about Instagram, and that's that it's a great place to share your work, but it's also kind of in the sort of Facebook style. It's kind of based on likes and a little bit on popularity, and that used to get to me a little bit. It took me a while to um, sort of learn to appreciate that and ignore any negative aspect or like intense self-awareness that might bring about, which I think is another, probably a whole other discussion about social media. So at the end of this, I think my goal is just to run with that exploration, to continue to pursue a voice, no matter how long it takes, and no matter what people think.
Hmm.
Very nice. How about you, Patricia?
Well, I don't want it to end. I mean, I'm going to take pictures and post them on Instagram anyway. But what I'm liking about this is although I live in Detroit and there are lots of photographers here, and I just had lunch actually with a woman I met on Instagram. We just had lunch this week, and
Nice.
another woman, yeah, we're planning to meet next week. So, that's cool. But I don't really have photographer friends here in Detroit. My photographer friends have been all over the world, and we'll do Skypes in Germany and Australia and New Zealand and whatever. But what I'm really liking about this is the philosophical part of it. I mean, I can always go out and shoot, and actually I sort of prefer going out and shooting on my own, because with my scooter I go really fast, and I just skitter hither and thither, and it's like I just want to do my thing. So I'm not a real good group kind of a person for that. But I am really enjoying bringing my brain to the table again, because I kind of had forgotten about my brain. And my philosophical, I really do enjoy looking at and discussing the philosophy of things, but I hadn't done that with photography in ages. And so I don't want this to end. I would love it if we could find a way, at least for our community, to continue to meet and continue to discuss. It doesn't have to be connected with a gallery or online YouTube things or whatever. It doesn't have to be any of that. But I would really love to see us be able to continue to meet and discuss, whether we did it through posts on Instagram or what. But I don't want it to end.
There's several things that we've got in the background that may continue on from the gallery. So if that's definitely something that we see an interest in, I don't think you'll have a worry there.
Good, because we're building community here, and I'm getting to know individual people. I think especially when we do these meetups, which we can also do. I mean, we can do this on Hangout. We can do it on Skype, group Skype, or whatever. But I'm getting to know people as individuals, and I like that. I like to hear people's stories. Yeah.
Very nice. Yeah, I think we'll have a couple different things that would be of interest to you, and some of the others. So, we'll
Exciting, because I feel the same way.
We'll bring those up. We'll talk about those later.
Cool.
Leoneld, how about you? Any goals that you have for the last running of the week that we have planned out for here, at least for the immediate future, as we talked about?
I mean, I'm not sure. I think I want to piggyback first on what they said. I think that they've hit the nail right on that. And it's been a great fusion of different, cultures and communities and just ideas that have been thrown into the gallery that I'm actually honored to be a part of, this, because I feel like I'm the youngest, right? I'm 25.
Yeah.
So my voice is just developing. I'm going through like this mid-20s crisis here of super confusion, and I'm just caught up in the mix. Like I was reading some of the posts and I'm like, whoa, this stuff is deep. It's like, I hadn't really thought of photography in a philosophical sense in that way. So it's been kind of great to brush up on things from college through this gallery. Um, but in the last week, I don't know. I feel like it's the last week is fitted more for, I guess, my age group, because it's really, concerned on social media and the aspects of social media that make it what it is. So I'm just gonna try to be as involved as possible. And I know I've still yet to get that shout out post on my personal account. So I got to get that done to make sure that a bunch of people go and see it, Um, but I don't know. I just want to be more engaged this last week. I've been busy, and it's been overwhelming. And also, after seeing the stuff that you guys were presenting, I was kind of overwhelmed with a sense of insecurity, because I didn't know what my voice can bring to the table. But I definitely want to be more engaged.
Sorry about that, guys. Apparently a neighbor's car alarm.
No, you're fine. It's just background.
Yeah, that's annoying.
You've been asking us all these questions, but we haven't heard anything from you. Aren't you going to?
Most of my stuff has been through the blog that's been up on the website so far.
Good stuff, by the way.
I've had almost very little time to actually shoot. I've been out on a couple shoots here in Indianapolis for some other commission type work, but when it comes to me actually taking photos, I came from a black and white darkroom background, and I've always more gravitated towards that. Let's hold this big camera in our hands, and I almost find it a little bit awkward myself to transition to using it in a phone. So I always feel like I don't know. I always think my photos. I always think they suck on the phone. But so I definitely do more work with the DSLRs, but I still keep my Instagram mostly iPhone work, and almost like a daily personal journal, as opposed to some of the work that I'll go out and shoot for in town or wherever it may be. But my main goal with this was just bringing everyone here together. My own voice in itself I don't find very impressive, but when I can bring everyone else from so many various backgrounds and to kind of orient towards not necessarily one theme, but one goal of talking about the various themes that we've had with the social photography, I find that far more fascinating. So that's where mostly I've been this whole time, is kind of in the background, making sure that those things can happen. And that in itself is an honor to be able to work with everyone who's also kind of at least shared that vision and hopped on board with me and this whole project. So for me, it's about all you guys. So I appreciate everyone's involvement and all the posts and the dialogue from you guys in the audience. That's the magic for me. So and don't worry about age or being younger. I'm also 25, so.
And I'm 72, so I think I'm definitely the oldest. It's so funny when I'm out shooting and I'll say to somebody, like when I was getting my tattoo, I said to the guy who did it, I said, "Can I take a picture of you and your son for Instagram?" And he looked at me, he says, "Instagram? You do Instagram?" It's like there's this ageist thing that older people are not supposed to even know what Instagram is, much less do it. So it's very funny.
Yeah, but then you show them your tattoo and
yeah, right, exactly.
Cancels that right out.
I know.
Yeah.
My tattoos, my piercings, hey, whatever.
It's just the heart, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
You should have told me I'm in here getting tattoos and piercings. I'm hip and up with it. Where are you at? Come on.
Yeah, I mean,
Did you
God,
take a selfie while you were
my
getting
first,
the tattoo?
yeah, my first tattoo when I was 64. So it's like, come on, whatever.
That's great.
You're
I like.
never too old and never too young. I mean, really, I love hearing perspective from people in their 20s. Because what it does is, I mean, there's still inside me, my 20-year-old self is still there, and my 25-year-old self. And so when you speak, it's triggering. You know, then she starts coming alive again, and I remember it all. I don't know, it's wonderful. But
And
That
I've been
sounds great.
intimidated too, by the way, by some of the depth of conversations that people are bringing to the table. It's like, whoa, where did they come up with that? I am so impressed. But, so I can understand feeling a little intimidated sometimes.
No, yeah, I mean, I'm 2 years removed from college.
Yeah,
And I was struggling freelancing, doing video stuff, and I was, like over the last 2 years, I think I've read probably like 5 books for pleasure. Like, I've been trying to make it, and New York is such a competitive market. Um, like it kind of steals your soul a little bit, and I had to learn photography just so that I can make myself more of an asset to wherever I'm trying to apply, because the more you know, the better it is for you,
that's
especially here.
that's
So
no, you're in a very, I mean, being a New York photographer is an entirely different animal.
mm,
Um, I can't even imagine, especially to try to make a living at it. Try to make
yeah,
a living at it is a whole different thing. I'm surprised you have time even to be doing this at all, to be honest.
well, yeah, I'm sort of in between jobs because that's just the life of a freelancer here. I've
Yeah,
been trying to do studio stuff, but it hasn't come my way yet. So I just take freelance photo gigs or freelance editing gigs when they come.
yeah,
But yeah, that's why I was overwhelmed, because I haven't had time to
mm-hmm.
exert my brain power to its max potential right now. Like over this last, I would say, 6 months and year and a half combined. I've been more focused on trying to get out of my mother's house.
Yeah.
and
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know if you saw the New York Times today. They're talking about the boomerang kids, the boomerang kids who leave and then come back. I mean, it's a whole deal now. It's hard to get out of your mom's house.
Well, yeah, I mean the debt that we incur now going to
Oh, it's hard.
college is
It's
horrible.
just
So
me. I can't tell you how angry that makes me. We
Oh yeah.
did not have that when I was in school. Drives me crazy. We could go crazy on that one.
Yeah, I feel that as well.
Yeah.
Well, we've been going for almost an hour, guys. Does anyone have any final closing thoughts? Yes, Kevin, we'll start with you and go down the square of faces here again.
Just on a practical level, I'll be catching up a little bit this week as well, due to a brand new job and my lens breaking and some other excuses. I'm a little behind, but I'm really I've got a couple days off here now. So as soon as we're done, I'm going out shooting
I like it.
with my old lens, the one I don't like, and so that limitation's going to push me in a new direction too, and I'm just going to keep at it this week. That's about it. I really appreciate. This is fun, and I really appreciate hearing in person from the other photographers, and having a facilitator is nice. So I also hope it continues in some way after this week.
Very good. Patricia, how about you?
Really, I just have to say thank you. I mean, that really is the main thing, Erin. I have to say thank you to you. I have to say thank you to the folks at the Indie in the gallery. Thank you to all the other members of the collective who, I mean, it's so easy for me. I'm retired. I don't have to make a living right now. I can play. I have all the time in the world. Whole different stage of life. And so I'm so grateful, really. It's really an honor to be part of it. So thank you so much, and you are making me think about things I really had not even thought about. So thank you, and I've loved today. It's wonderful to meet each of you in person. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Patricia. Yeah, Bobby down at the Indie, she's done a couple backflips for us, so we all thank her very much. Now, how about yourself?
The same, my man. I want to say thank you so much. I mean, and the fact that you're 25, you're inspiring me. I have to be more of a leader like Aaron. But no, this experience has been great. It's making me think about the medium in a new light, and which is important to me because like I said, I I need to progress as a media artist, and for as much as life gets in the way, I think these type of galleries and these type of I I don't know how to say it, outlets in my professional career are very important to me because of the conversations that we are having, and where we are going with the craft. So yeah, man, I am honored to be a part of this, and hopefully I can make this next Google Hangout, and let's have great discussions then.
Sasounds good. Well, thank you, everyone. If the three of you want to hang around for a couple minutes after we end the broadcast, I'll a couple of things for us. But thank you for everyone who's watched. Again, our next Google Hangout Artist Talk will be on the 26th at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time in the U.S. So depending on where you're at in the world, feel free to come in, ask us questions while we're doing this, and we'll try and get some of the audience in on audience questions for our next one, closing Google Hangout for the month. But stay tuned on Instagram at SOC Photo Gallery, SOC Photo Gallery, and then on Twitter we are also SOC Photo 1, SOC Photo 1. So someone stole the other name. Happens now with the internet. But thank you everyone for watching, and we look forward to seeing you at the next Google Hangout.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Goodbye.